Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've got a schooner full. Hold on to your seats, tighten your seatbelts. We're about to hear about Michael's
Not much left, is there?
judiciary career.
No, let's not talk about that.
There has been a rumour, Michael, that you actually bought an apartment in Phillip Street in Sydney. You were there that often. Is there any truth to that rumour?
I have never been to the judiciary. Swear to God, never been there.
They just
Early guilty plea every time. Couldn't get off.
easiest way.
There's no point fighting it.
But even though you ended up charged quite a number of times, I don't think you were ever a dirty player. I think you were a tough player who occasionally a tackle went wrong and you may have hit a little bit higher than what you expected, and you were also taught as a young fella that if someone wants to fight you, get the first one in because you might get another one.
Yeah, so like I said, growing up at North and seeing the way they played, I thought that it was your right. If you got someone on their back, you could give them a forearm to the face. That was fine. As long as, if they got you back, then play on. That's okay. And I was good with that. I get frustrated with players, and there's a couple that I played against that, they would be the first to give you a forearm to the face. But if anyone touched their face, they'd blow up to the referees. And no, I just can't cop that. So I'm a big believer of what happens on the field stays on the field. And I think we saw that fight with Mark O'Mealy, and I remember being at a bar in Sydney after it called the Good Bar downstairs, dark and dingy, and got a tap on the shoulder and turned around as a girl. She's like, "That was awesome. That's what Origin's all about." And I was like, "Sorry?" She goes, "Oh, sorry. I'm Sandy, Mark's wife, Oga's wife." She goes, "Oga, get over here." Called him over. She goes, "You owe him a beer. He got you, didn't he?" And he goes, "Yeah." And we shook hands, had a beer. That was it. And we walk off. And so that's how I believe footy should be played. And but there's other instances where, again, this is a reason why we hate New South Wales and certain New South Wales. Probably the most hated New South Wales player of all time. So I was in a tackle and Paul Gallen ran in 10 metres. He grabbed me on the nuts, squeezed him, ran out. I thought, okay, well, I'll get you back at some stage during the game if I can. And I did. I got a swinging arm on him as he was going down. I got a forearm to his face. And after the game, a journo came in. He's like, "Oh, Paul Gallen reckons you should be suspended for what you did to him." I went, "Sorry, what?" He goes, "Oh, the high shot and the forearm to the face. He thinks you should be suspended." And I said, "Look, mate, he did something to me earlier in the game. I thought it was a square up, and we should leave it at that. And I don't think he should have said anything." Left it at that. The journo's obviously gone and saw the tape, and you can see it pretty clearly. And I remember I was in Melbourne. I got a phone call. I was like, "Hello." He goes, "Croc, it's Gallen." I said, "Sorry." He goes, "Paul Gallen." I said, "Yeah, mate, how can I help you?" He goes, "Oh, well, the journos have found out that what I've done there, and they're going to run the story. I'm going to lose a captaincy." And I said, "Yeah, and?" He goes, "Oh, well, if any journo calls you, can you just say it didn't happen, I don't want to lose a captaincy." I said, "Mate, you are absolutely kidding yourself," in probably a little bit more colourful language than that at the time. But I said, "Mate, if you didn't do it, I wouldn't have got you back. B, if you didn't say that to the journalist, no one would be even running this story. So this is on you. So if someone calls me, I'll tell them everything." So that's it's one of the things in the game now, and you see guys playing for penalties and different things like that, where it's not rugby league. Rugby league is a game where you learn to be tough, and you give out, and you take what you get back.
And I think also C, if Gallen hadn't brought it up, they wouldn't have seen it on the video.
Correct. No one would be looking at it. No one would ever remember it except for me.
But between 2001 and 2007, you faced 10 charges from the judiciary, and you'd been suspended for a total of 21 weeks. So
I wouldn't have had a long career if I didn't get suspended. So I did it tactically. So I'd play hard for 6 weeks, get a 1 or 2 week suspension, freshen up, come back fresh. That was my theory.
You might have got 250 games.
If you didn't, I would have only played 100 games otherwise.
But by 2012, you'd faced the judiciary 13 times, but you weren't the only one, because there was one other player in the NRL, and he's hated by 99% of other teams because they're not Manly supporters. So your record was equalled by the one and only Manly Steve Maddai.
Is it? Awesome. did he beat me or was it equal?
No, equal.
Oh, damn.
13.
But that's only individual charges, isn't it? So there's obviously
No, it's 13 times referred to the judiciary.
Yeah.
Where
There's people that have had longer.
Sammy
times.
Bird, Les Boyd,
He got a full year, didn't he?
Yeah. Cooper got plenty, and even Sammy Burgess, I think he's had 14 charges, but he hasn't got as many weeks.
George is just about to go on top.
George is about to beat the record, I think. But Michael, from your time with rugby league, you've also given back a lot to the game, which I think is sensational. And some of the areas where you've given back is through the Mental League Association. Now, as a player, you think, Mental League, I don't need them because I'm fit, I'm young, I'm doing fantastic. But I think as you've grown a little bit older, Michael wants one of those, I think.
No, for everyone? What's happening here?
You've realised that it doesn't hurt to give back a little bit. And just some of the things you've done with the Mental League. In 2017, you and David Tyrrell went and visited a couple of absolutely mad South Sydney fans, Clive Sand and AJ Halloran, who were patients in the Prince Alfred spinal unit. Now, when you go in and see blokes like that in the situation they're in and you're strapping fit, are you thinking, how lucky am I not to be where you are? Or how can I help just brighten your day?
Yeah, so Ronnie Coote was obviously a Roosters legend, and when he started in 2002, we all jumped on board, and back then it was a lifetime membership, and obviously that's changed because you can't just continually give out lifetime memberships. You need to fund the organisation. So Ronnie Coote really drove the message into us about what it was, and at the time you're young and you don't really think about it too much, but as you grow older, and for myself, growing up as a kid, we had a severely disabled guy next door. Throughout my life, I've had two neighbours that are severely autistic, and then obviously going to school visits and hospital visits and different places like that throughout our time as a player doing community work. It really puts things in perspective. But you see the smile on people's faces when you go in, and whether they like league or not, they're always happy. So you really. Not that you take your own life for granted, but it puts everything in perspective. And I'm blessed that I'm fit and healthy, and so are my family. And to be able to go out and do these things, which it may or may not make a difference to someone's life, but to go out and just see how they're inspired by, we're inspired by them, and tell them that we're inspired by the way they live their life. I think that gives them a lot of hope and belief and happiness and fulfillment, which is, for me, it's a simple thing to do, and it's something I enjoy doing.
And obviously, you're fairly comfortable dealing with those situations.
Yeah, and it's some of the stuff we've seen. Kids that have been in accidents and different things, and even my neighbours that had a severely autistic boy. They're what they do as a family and the way they are able to cope with it. He was 17 and still wore a nappy, and I had to buy him headgear because he'd headbutt the wall at times and have different things. But we had a horse at the time. We had a dog that, those sorts of connections. We could send a dog next door. We actually built the neighbour was a bit handier than me, so we built a little latch in the fence so they could open if we were out of our house, they could open the little latch in the fence. The dog could come through and Daniel could play with the dog. And those little times, he was happy. He was so happy. We'd take him down and see the horse. Horses have a phenomenal sixth sense, so he would come up to our horse. It could be a bit flighty at times, but as soon as Daniel would walk up, he would be so calm and composed, and it makes the kid so happy. So yeah, it's tough to see, but it's not just the people that are affected; it's the families that have to deal with it as well. So.
And then in 2018, the Men of League and the QRL put together a drought relief tour, which saw you putting your hand up and saying, I'll jump on board, guys. I'll go out to Roma and stop at a million places along the way. But you brought your Melbourne Lucky Charm with you. And what happened every single town that you stopped at on the way?
We had a storm everywhere we went, so it was phenomenal. That we flew out to Longreach, and I went to Longreach. We played State Carnival there in, it would have been 92, so a long time ago, but it was it was dry back then, but it obviously wasn't like this. And I remember we drove out there on a bus, and the highway out there, the bus, obviously the window of the bus, the back seats actually folded back towards the front, so we were laying down in the back of the bus like that, looking out the back. Every 5-10 metres there's roadkill. They were scattered everywhere. And we were young kids just seeing all these dead roos going, oh my God. Then so we drove from Longreach to Barcaldine, which I think was the next town, and there was, I think we saw one dead animal on the road and no wildlife anywhere. That's how dry it was because there's nothing there for them to eat. So in town we got a storm the first night, a really big storm the next night, and then the next 2 towns after we got rain. So it wasn't a drought breaker, but it was a little bit of relief, and the people of the town were still so happy, and they knew things had turned around, and it's just good because they don't get much out there, and it's tough for league clubs to go out there and send a squad out there or send players out there. So the more that people like myself who are lucky to have that time to be able to give, that we can go out there and do stuff, the better it is.
So you put a smile on your face just by turning up.
And we had to drink 4X every night, so it was a tough gig. Had to. Yeah, we were forced.
It was part of the conditions
of
the tour.
It was a combined thing, so it'd be rude not to.
2019, this year, you went to the dark side. You've signed with the Southport Sharks. What's your role as a 13-year NRL player with a local AFL team?
Trying to teach them how to tackle. So it's
quite high.
it's a defensive role. It's an interesting one. So we've got a number of young kids that played football, rugby league or union growing up, so they know how to tackle. The other kids, there's a lot from Tasmania and Melbourne who played AFL the whole life, and they just don't know technically how to get in position. So they only train 2 nights a week, so I don't have a lot of time with them, so I can't be really technical. But it's all about the intent and getting used to the collision. So they actually thrive. They actually love doing some of the stuff that we're doing, and it gets them more confident once they get out on the field to put get their body into the right position if they're going to make a tackle, or if they're going down for the ball, get ready to brace for the contact and get used to that contact.
So how much of that time of your time does that take up?
So it's two nights a week, which is tough because I work 1 day a week down in Sydney, which is on Saturday, so I miss out on the boys' footy, and so training Tuesday and Thursday nights, I miss out on their training now as well. And not that I want to be coaches, but it's good to be there and just watch them train and be a part of it. So that's it's a small sacrifice for me to make because I know I'm going to get a lifetime of that, and it's an opportunity for me now to see if I actually enjoy it and see if I'm good at it, and if there's opportunities that come from it, then that will serve me well in the future.
And you mentioned that you're working down in Sydney on Saturdays. What sort of work does that involve?
So I work for Bet365, and I go down and talk. We've got a little segment on Fox where we talk about the odds, but I just have to talk about the teams and their style of play and give punters a bit of an insight to help them make a decision on what they're going to punt on.
So we bet responsibly.
Always gamble responsibly. Always gamble responsibly. You're just going to have that little pause in between.
I have noticed tonight that from the start of the season till tonight when you walked in, there's been a bit of a trimming of the beard. Was that part of your...
No, well, I'm filthy. So I did this last week, and I just wanted a gentle trim, and they cut it a lot shorter, and I'm really superstitious. So the beard started 2 years ago, game 1 of Origin, trimmed my beard before it, we lost. Game 2, I had a couple of weeks growth, beard trimmers broke, didn't cut it, we won. So came to game 3, I was like, I can't cut it. We won game 3. It was the first time a team had lost game 1 and won the series in a long time. So superstitiously, I let it grow, and a girl liked it at the time, so she doesn't like it as much anymore because she thinks it's a bit tickly. But when we kiss, not her eyes, and filthy minds out there, I can hear it in your laughs. So superstition started it, and now I've trimmed it before game 2 and we've lost in Perth, so definitely won't be touching it before game 3.
Bill, we had Billy Harrigan up here not that long ago, and Bill actually grew a beard, and because he does the Lowe's ads and he does or he used to do the NRL 360, they told him if you've got the beard, you have to keep it until this certain period of time before he's allowed to shave it off, even though the wife hated it.
Billy makes his own rules up, doesn't he? You know what, Billy was one of the greats. I love this.
It has been rumoured.
We need more referees like Billy Harrigan just to take ownership of, he owned his, actually, when we saw the footage there of the fight with Marco Amelia, that's how referees should handle things. They dealt with it really well, and referees now, they're so overcoached, and there's stats and different things and KPIs they've got to meet. Just let them be referees and own the decisions and get on with them. As players and as fans, you know that some days you're not going to get all the calls, other days you're going to get most of the 50-50s, and I think that's the problem with referees now is there's so much focus on us and the media hammer them, and there's all these different angles and stuff, and they just haven't allowed them to be referees, which Bill was one of the best at just being who he was, and he was a bloody good referee.
I think what helped Bill was he got his grounding in the Parramatta District Pub competition, and if anybody's been to Parramatta in Sydney, you get a fight before you get a fee. Now, you've had a number of jobs since you've retired from football, and your first job was as a player relations manager for the Rugby League Players Association. You spent 4 years there as both brand ambassador and operations assistant. Oh, no, brand ambassador, that was with your next job. You were the manager for the player relations. What did that involve you doing for the players?
So at the time, we had never had a strong players association. I've been involved for a number of years. Came on board when they first came in. Tony Butterfield really tried to drive it in 2002, 3, 4, I reckon, around that time. And it was something that we didn't really think of too much until I went down to Melbourne and saw how strong the Players Association was in Victoria for the AFL. And then when I came back to Sydney, we started making inroads, but it was just, we were a long way off from where we were. No one really cared about it. So when I retired, I actually had 3 jobs. I had a few options. I got offered the under-20s role in Melbourne, which, to go down that coaching path and be under Craig Bellamy was something that, is the only way I would have done it. And player management was another option, and I'd been doing some real estate with McGrath Real Estate, and the plan was to go up to Sunshine Coast and open up a franchise there. So I had a number of opportunities, but then this one presented itself with the Players Association, and I took a lot of time to reflect and thought that this was a great opportunity for me, for the game to learn and help grow the association. Got in there, basically my job at the start was to educate players firstly, get everyone on board, and then try and drive change throughout the industry to produce better outcomes for players, because I'd been through it where agents, clubs had taken advantage of players just due to the poor working conditions that they had, and the contracts and everything that was in place. So from the time I started in 2013 to where it is now, it has come such a long way, and proud of the role I played. But it was at the time it was pretty draining. It went straight from playing football, which was a good job, and it was a lot of hours and hard work. But then go into working, basically it was 24 hours a day at times, because if people were in trouble, you had to be there for them. Emotionally, it took a toll because you had to deal with players' well-being and issues off the field, and a lot of serious issues in terms of mental health and different things like that with players and their families and support. So it was it was something that, and then there's politics and agendas throughout the game, and at all levels, which is frustrating for me, because I went into that role thinking, okay, well I can work with the NRL, Players Association, the clubs and the players, the agents. We all work together. Let's make the game great for all the players and everyone involved. But that's just not how it is, which was it was a little bit disheartening for me. So after 4 or 5 years there, sort of you almost lose your passion for the game, because you see all the stuff that you don't really like. And so once I step away from that now, it's allowed me to be a proper fan of the game again.
For a professional player to be a member of the Rugby League Players Association, what does it cost them?
So we used to pay a fee. So early on it was a couple of grand. I think it was based on your tiered based on your salaries, but in 2012 we negotiated through the CBA, which is the agreement that comes along with the TV rights deal. We got to put in that there's a certain amount, instead of going to the salary cap, went into the Players Association, so all the membership was paid for through the deal, which was an easy way to get everyone on board and obviously fund the association to help us to grow. I'm not sure where it's at now. There's obviously more funding that's coming in, and the Players Association are looking at ways to commercially bring more money in and deal with it. But yeah, there's a certain portion that will always come from the negotiation of the TV deal.
How supportive are the players towards the association?
Yeah, well, now compared to what they are, they're all behind it because they understand the difference that it makes, and they've seen how far it has come. So being involved in players that have gone through negotiations with their clubs or contract disputes, or trying to push out of the club, or help them off the field with issues, and give them support through pointing them in the right direction, legal avenues, or helping them through that process has been it's been rewarding, because once a couple of people see the benefit of it, it spreads to everyone, and then obviously the word grows, and the stronger the support is from the players, the stronger the association is going to be. It's like any union; it's always based on how supportive the members are of it.
Yep. And you mentioned there a role with McGrath estate agents that you may have moved up to Sunshine Coast and set something up. You were a brand ambassador and an operations assistant with McGrath estate agents. They are probably one of the largest estate agents in Australia. It must have been a tremendous opportunity.
It was, and John was a long-time Souths fan, so he and I think Russell at the time got together and said, we can put in a third-party deal, and it was something I said yes, definitely, because it's an avenue that I'm interested in, and to be a part of the operations team was really good for me, because it oversaw all of the different aspects of the business, and so you learn a lot, and you go through all the processes with new franchises coming in, or reviews of the franchises and different things, and you look at it, and there's still so many franchisees that would come in, and the McGrath way is it's a team culture. Everything's about, most estate agents is about, their own self. So every Ray White is an individual thing, whereas McGrath franchises, all the information shared, all the database is shared. So McGrath franchise has access to every person that's on the database throughout every McGrath franchise across Australia. So that's in itself it was unique, especially back then when they first started. The franchises come in, so a franchise owner will buy it. He's usually the best agent in his town. Continue just trying to sell and run the business, where McGrath, John and the team always tell them, you need someone to run the business. If you want to continue being the salesman, you need someone to run the business. And sometimes they won't take the advice. 6 months later they come in for a review, or 12 months later, business is sliding down, it gets going backwards. And they ask them, how's the business set up, what's happening? And they say, I'm trying to do all this. And they realise that having a good team in place is the best way to go forward. And I think that it reflects in every football organisation that I've been in, and coaching staff, playing systems, whatever it is. It's about the people you surround yourself with, and making sure you have the right people doing the right roles.
So it was initially set up as a third-party agreement through the Rabbitohs?
Yeah, on the salary cap, that one was
no problem. But Russell never offered you a role in one of his movies?
No, that's Russell was. I remember the first voicemail I got from Russell it's something I had in my phone for a long time. The voice is spectacular. I'm not even going to try and do it to justify, but it was it was obviously he's a guy that loves rugby league. He loves the club, and he wanted to do everything he could to get me there, and he was really excited about it. So I was blessed to have him come around and speak to us at certain times. We've heard some other stories about what he used to do. He had taken a backward step from the club at the time when I got there, but I was still lucky to be around him at times for him to tell the stories of how they got back into the club and how much the club meant to him. So having people like that involved in the game is something that we will always need, and it's something that if it wasn't for him and Peter Holmes of Court and those sorts of people, then South might not be there.
And you would have been to his property at Nana Glen?
I've been out the farm, yeah. It's a wonderful place. I've had a wonderful time there. He's got a great little pub called the Blind Rabbit, and it's an old school little English pub that he's got. He's got a big man cave. It's bigger than most houses up here on the Gold Coast, and he took the whole team up there and put on a feed. He's got his own cattle station out there, so they bring in the food sensational, but he's got a cricket ground, so you play cricket and have a bit of fun there. And having him involved is something that it is pretty special, because it's not just about his fame and celebrity, it's about his love for the game and his passion for the club.
Well, at one year, and I'm not sure if you were at South the year where Armani sponsored their suits, and the guys used to turn up to games in Armani suits, and if you remember back to your North's Devil days, probably your early Redcliffe days, you've turned up in board shorts and a t-shirt.
Growing up, we were going down the Roosters in the eastern suburbs, you had to be fashionable. But then, we always looked over at the Rabbitohs, and it was not quite as fashionable as we were in the east. And so when I got there and we were sponsored by Armani, I was like, okay, we fit in quite well. But obviously that was a thing that a lot of clubs. It's a big expense to kit out a club there, because a lot of them will do it, a little bit of a sponsorship. But Russell paid for all of those Armani suits, did up these blazers, the old school red and green blazers as well for the club, and he's done a lot of things that have been really good for the club, and just for the feeling of people being involved in the club. And that's one thing that's important. If you're at a club, you want to feel like you're part of a family, and Russell certainly makes you feel like that.
One of the good things I like about what you've done with your life, Michael, is that not only have you gone through successfully as a rugby league player, but you've also gone on to better yourself with your education. You've done a Bachelor of Sports Business from the Australian College of Physical Education, and you've also done a Diploma in Leadership and Management through the North Sydney Institute. So those 2 degrees or diplomas are only going to make you a better person and open up more doors for you. Has it done that for you?
Yeah, I think it's helped me to refine. I'm blessed. So when I first came through playing rugby league, there was no focus on education or anything like that, and until later in my career, I think when I first came back to Sydney, when the under-20s competition started, every under-20s player had to do study or work to play on the weekend. So that crop of young players coming through now are certainly more involved. I think overall throughout the NRL, there's 87% of players that are actively engaged in some form of education or work outside of football. So it has come a long way, but I think I'm lucky that I'm not, even though with all the head knocks and all the alcohol or drunk, I am reasonably bright. So I think it's just helped me to refine different things in my life and understand, if I do go into a certain situation, that I've got that confidence to be able to transfer the skills I had as a footballer into business or whatever it is that I may be involved in.
Yeah, because we've talked about your early days at the Roosters, where you'd be on the drink on Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, Sunday night, whatever the case may be, and probably a meal after a game was a steak and chips, a couple of eggs. But you got involved with a company called Body Science, which in its very early days when it came to Australia, and that changed your entire outlook on physical body recovery from training and supplements towards training. How has that come together, and what did it really teach you about?
It was interesting. So my partner and I have just launched a collaboration today with Body Science for some activewear. So this is how long the history goes with Body Science, and they came in as the first ever sports nutrition company to be involved in rugby league. It was 2002, and they came in, and for anyone that's trained now and is taking supplements, it's obviously a multi-billion-dollar industry. Back then, they were teaching us things that you're basically teaching grade one English too. It was protein. The protein window after you train, you've got to take your protein in that time to refuel your muscles. Just these simple things, little tweaks in our recovery performance have made a big difference. And then they obviously evolved into every certain aspect you could in terms of sports science, and to have them involved in my career, they were always offering advice and guidance in terms of what it was, and we were taking all that. We were obviously doing a lot of things away from the field that balance it out in terms of not doing the right thing and doing the right thing, which I still live my life like that. It's all about balance. But you know, they came in 2002. We won the competition for the Roosters. Panthers jumped on board in 2003 with them. They win. 2004, Bulldogs jump on board with them. They win the competition. So it is something that is really important in terms of performance and recovery.
And I'm not trying to crack on, but he looks all right, doesn't he? A bloke who hasn't played for 7 years, so you're obviously still looking after yourself.
And you were saying before that I would prefer a fight over a feed, but yeah, it's certainly flipped around the other way now. The feed comes first, yeah.
And then a decent drink. But after you retired, how long did it take for you to get back into training, to say, I've got to start looking after myself?
My body shape stayed pretty much the same. I started eating, reasonably well. I was eating quite good anyway, but I stopped training for a long time. All I was doing was walking my dogs and playing around with them, and it was just that I wasn't comfortable going to a group training session or anything like that. I just didn't enjoy it, and I had no time to train. I didn't like training by myself. I wanted to train with my mates, so it was a tough one for me. It wasn't until I was doing a bit of yoga with a friend of mine, and she just opened a gym and she said, "Look, come along. We've got a boxing session. I'll pair you up with this guy. He's Irish. You'll like him. Get along good." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. Like, it's a mixed class." She's like, "Just
It's
come."
probably Conor McGregor.
And anyway, so I got in there, and when I'm a Gemini, so I'm 100 miles an hour on a sleep. So when I train, I go flat out. And I got in there, we trained. I was sweating, I was making noises, I nearly vomited. And then at the end of the session, I sort of said to everyone, sorry for the sweat and all the grunting and stuff. And they were like, what are you talking about? And the trainer said to me, he goes, "This is awesome for everyone, because a lot of people that just go and train, they don't know how to push themselves. And to see someone push themselves, it actually inspires them that they can push themselves out a little bit further." So just little things like that allowed me to get back into training with other people and start feeling more comfortable around it. And I spew a lot when I train, because it's just what I do. Don't know if it's become habit or I do actually push myself too far, but it is something I do. And I think it's it makes me feel good, even though you didn't push yourself at that point. Once you finish training, you do feel good. And it's like when you're training with your mates, you get to a point where you train so hard that you sit down after it, and it makes you, it's a sense of fulfillment that you've done something special with them.
So if we see you walk into a gym carrying your own bucket, we know you're going to bash yourself.
I don't even worry about the bucket. I know that I can get myself outside to a bush or to the toilet or something.
Now,
but there was times at the Roosters where we weren't allowed to go this way. We were running, and Ricky Stewart. So this is how it used to be back before sports science. So Ricky Stewart would take us out for a luncheon on the Monday. Tell us we weren't allowed to our phones had to stay in our bags at the thing, so you weren't allowed to call your. Well, none of us had. There was only two that had partners, so I had to quickly send a text and say, "Look, we'll be home at some stage. Just won't have my phone." He takes us out, gets us as drunk as possible, brings us into training the next day at 6, and we'd be running drills, and obviously you have to rip in. So we've got blokes that are spewing all over themselves and running, and Sticky was he loved it. I don't know. Was it a masochist? Is that what they call it? He was a sicko. He loved it. As long as we were doing it, he was proud of us. And we knew that once we got into a game, no other club was doing it. We were pushing ourselves harder than anyone else. So I think that was a testament to what we did together as a group, and I think that holds with me today.
During your time as a player, and we're looking at the modern game now, wrestling has come into the game. Do you know when it first started and who brought it in?
It was a couple of years before I came down to Melbourne. They got a guy called John Donahue, Craig, they got into the game, and it was really smart. Obviously, coaching was about slowing down the ruck, and the ruck's the most important part of the game in terms of speed and how you slow it down. So they brought in a lot of different tactics. A lot of them when I was down there I wasn't a fan of, and voiced my opinion on that. And it was just something that I didn't think we needed to do. Some of the there were certain things that could cause pain to other players, which I didn't think we needed to do. But it was a tactic that was used to get on top of your opposition and slow down the ruck. So I think it's changed the way that a lot of kids tackle now, and we see a lot of kids tackle upright with their chest trying to catch the ball, and a lot of coaches at junior levels are teaching that, whereas it's not the way to do it. You need to come in with intent to come in with your shoulder and make that first contact. And when I was in Melbourne, my focus was always on that. Craig said, I don't want you to lose that. We want you to come in. If you get bumped off, as long as you get back into it, as long as you make that first contact, you stop the momentum anyway. So that was something that I was always passionate about. When I got to the South, it got worse because it was all about stats and win percentages and stuff. And so even if you went in with good intent to a tackle, but the player ends up on his front, even though he's 2 metres backwards, that's counted as a loss. So then you're in trouble for not winning the tackle. And it was something that was really, it was frustrating for me because that just wasn't, I'm not a stats man, I don't play for stats, I play for my teammates and play for the intent. I think that most players want to play with a player that's going to rip in and come up with a big play. Most times, if they miss out on one, they're going to get one at some stage anyway.
It's interesting you say that because last month we had Keegan Hipgrave from the Titans in and we were talking about stats and the multitude of statistics they get these days, and he doesn't care about any of them.
He's old school, I like him. He's tough too, I like him. So yeah, it can be confusing. Football's a really simple game when you break it down, and that's why Craig's is so successful, Wayne Bennett's so successful. They give every player a job to do. It's a simple job. As long as you do it well, the rest of the team's going to play well. So it's something that if you overcomplicate for players, like I said, most footballs aren't that bright. And if you simplify everything that they do and do it well, they're going to play good footy.
And just finally, from my end, we spoke about player agents, and that's one of the things that you did consider going into. Some of the player managers or player agents around today, George Mimas, David Riolo, Chris Gavin Orr, even these days, Tchaikovsky's working with Steve Gillis, Sam Ayub, Isaac Moses. These guys are almost personalities on their own right. How much do they help a player, hurt a player? How much balance do they have in a club where they come in and they might have 10 of that club's first grade side on their cards?
So it's interesting. A lot of agents do a lot of good stuff. How much attention you get, it's based on how much money you make and how much money you're worth and how much money they're getting off you, and how marketable you are. So obviously you can make more money outside of football than they actually make more. So their average percentage is between 7 and 9% of your contract. If they get outside deals and third-party endorsements, they get 20%. So they're going to work hard for those guys that are more marketable. A frustrating thing for me is that, especially when I was younger, my first agent, he took advantage of me and a number of other players around, like getting into dodgy investments and things that they were taking a cut of, which is, it's frustrating to see, but it's something where, as a young kid, you trust these people with everything they do. You think they're going to give you good advice. Even when I got arrested, I trusted them to have a good lawyer for me, and found out through my ex-father-in-law, who was the CEO of a law society, that I could have pleaded guilty without conviction, which meant I could have gone to England and played footy. Just little things like that where they don't give you the right advice and guidance. And I think the agent I had at the end, Andrew Purcell's a wonderful man. He does a lot for mentoring and making young men make their own decisions, and helping them to, like when Pong is, he's really good at giving guidance to players to allow them to make their own decisions. And I think that's the most important thing. Instead of trusting the agents to do it all, where they're financially more than likely taking a cut, you've got to make your own decision based on the information that you get. And then if you make a decision that fails, then it's on you. At least you can got that.
Now, Michael, you live two lives. One is the ex-NRL player, and one is Michael Crocker, who grew up in Redcliffe. How many of those guys that you knocked around the streets with in Redcliffe are you still in touch with on a regular basis? And how many of your mates that you've played footy with do you call up once a fortnight or once a month and try and stay in touch with?
So I think as you grow older, and it's been scientifically proven, you only need 5 good best friends around you. So I'm lucky I've got those, but there's dare say, a handful of kids from Redcliffe and guys that I played with that I speak to, even if I speak to them once a year or once every 6 months, it seems like nothing's changed. And then for football-wise, I've got that that core group of good mates that we don't see each other all the time. Because a lot of them are based in Sydney, but I'm godfather to one of my best mates' kids. I'm the other kids we're talking about, the Slater's kids, they all call me Uncle MC or Uncle Croc. So basically, they're my adopted children as well. So I'm blessed that football's given me the opportunity to meet so many great people, and I still hold that dearly, that we've got those relationships and friendship for life.
And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to throw a question to the floor now, and I'll ask young Griffin to come up, please, because he's going to ask this.
Because he's got the greatest jersey in the world.
It's his first time public speaking on the microphone, and he's got a big question to ask of Michael.
Michael, what advice do you have for young players wanting to play NRL at a high club level?
It's an excellent question, and there's a number of things. I think the first one is always have fun. You've got to love what you do, and it's like anything. You're never going to be your best at a job if you don't love it. You're never going to be your best at something if you play sport because you think you're going to make money or you think it's going to be good for your profile. You're not going to go as good as you can. So if you love what you do and have fun with it, you'll be your best. Second thing is to work hard. There's nothing that replaces work hard, whether that's football or school or life. There's nothing that replaces hard work, and I've found that, and I guess that's the story of those young kids that I played with at the junior level that had so much talent, but they didn't work hard or make the right decisions. And then the third one is just to surround yourself with good people and always ask the right questions. Ask people. No question is dumb, especially in terms of football. If you're wanting to learn, coaches that always give their time. People that have played football or have been around football, ask as many questions as you can, because the more you learn, the more you'll be able to progress yourself.
And very good advice there, sage advice. You mentioned a little bit earlier about a business transaction that you and Kiri have launched today. What's that all about? Is there a little bit of fashion involved?
It is actually. So it's a collaboration with Body Science, who obviously I've been involved with in 20 years, and partner Kiri's got a kids clothing label, Duke of London, and she started making men's board shorts, so matching men's board.
Hang on a second, what's it called?
Duke of London.
Duke of London. Now, that wouldn't have anything to do with Kiri's two boys, Duke and London.
Correct, that's right. So she started making men's boards, so matching men's boards with kids' boardies, and I put them on for the first time and never took them off because tactile, they felt so good. I could wear them to the gym, I could wear them to the beach, I could wear them to yoga, I could wear them down the street, you could wear them wherever. And we gave some back to the owners of Body Science, who obviously have supported me for so long. They love them. So when I gave Kiri the feedback that they were unreal, she just thought I was biased and saying they were great. But the more feedback we got from friends, the more she was actually gratified that she was making a good product. So we sat down one day with the guys from Body Science and Greg, who's based up here. Actually, we're talking one day just about a number of different things in life. Then spent 2 hours talking business with Kiri, and Kiri walked out going, "That was unbelievable. I've learned more in 2 hours from this guy who I've just met than I have in my whole life." So this relationship has been built with the two of us, and one day we got talking about the shorts and sort of tossed up the idea of making some activewear for them or some shorts for them, and they've been ahead of the game in terms of compression. They've only dabbled in sports gear a little bit, but so we got together and put together especially the shorts. We think they're high quality, they're functional, they're fashionable, they're a little bit edgy. So we've got a 9-piece collection that launches tonight. We've just done the photo shoot today, which was really exciting. We had all local businesses involved and a couple of friends involved as well. So it's a nice feeling to come together and learn off these guys and be able to share in the fruits of business with them and go along the journey with them.
So most importantly, where will these be available?
Bodyscience.com. Yeah, you can get online and have a look, and there's two pairs of shorts. There's casual shorts, there's women's tights, crop tops, tanks, and a couple of jumpers. So If you're looking to do some shopping, come along.
Ladies and gentlemen, any birthdays coming up, make sure you get online and pick some up because they're going to, obviously it's a good product.
Yeah, it is. It's well, I think it's a wonderful product, and I think again, once we get some feedback from friends and see and feel how much they love them, then we'll be really happy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed this evening because it has been one of the most insightful evenings that we've had, where we've learned so much about the intricacies of not only rugby league, the law, the judiciary, Players Association.
My sister's a sergeant in the police force too, so I should have known more about the law than what I do. I know more now.
And she couldn't get you off at the time. But ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and thank Michael Crocker for this evening's effort.